Hi, my name is Cheryl Popp, and I'm the director of Honor Flight Tri-State.
What exactly is Honor Flight?
Honor Flight is a nonprofit organization that was started in 2005 when a physician's assistant at the VA hospital in Springfield, Ohio, was talking to all of the veterans about the memorial. It took 60 years to build this memorial. A lot of these women and men are now in their 80s or 90s, and they would never have the means to get to the memorial. Maybe their health was failing, maybe they were afraid of aircraft, or so we decided. So actually, Earl Morris, who's the founder, he decided to start Honor Flight, and he started it very simply by taking the veterans in his own private airplane. And then in 2005, he realized that there was more veterans than he was going to have time to take to the memorial. So he took a commercial airline. And the organization started because they raised money for each flight individually. And then they went to commercial airlines out of Columbus or Dayton. A lot of times Southwest would sponsor a flight. And that's how it started.
All right. How did you get involved?
Well, the Cincinnati hub was the fourth hub, and now there's 104 hubs all across the United States, and they each work in the same way. But we've taken, since 2005, 69,000 veterans, World War II veterans, to their memorial.
Do you have any veterans in your family?
I do. Actually, my father, Cody's great-grandfather, was in the Air Force in World War II. He was a finance officer and ended up a major at the end of the war, but he died in 2007, so one of my main reasons for being excited about Honor Flight was for me to take other veterans like him to the memorial.
Did he get to go on a flight?
He didn't get to go. I didn't become involved in Honor Flight until his health was failing, but it also made me realize how important it was to get the vets there before they were too ill to go.
On average, how many vets do you think a year go?
The Cincinnati chapter of Honor Flight Tri-State, we take about 500 veterans a year. We're almost over the 1,500 mark now since we started.
How do veterans qualify?
To qualify, it's really not that difficult. You have to apply either online or by a written application, and it's all about your service history, your health, where you live, and things like that, and then we qualify them by phone, making sure they're healthy enough to go on the flight. There's 8 questions that we ask. A lot of times, too, they'll bring a guardian, which is either a family member or someone who we call a solo guardian, which would be anyone over 18 that wanted to go. They pay their own way, and then we talk to them to make sure that the veteran is healthy enough, because it's an 18-hour day. It's a very long day.
Are you currently looking for veterans?
We are looking for veterans. We don't spend any money on advertising. It's all word of mouth, or we speak at organizations. We spoke at Mason High School, Harrison High School too, trying to get the kids involved in helping us find veterans. Because a lot of times you see them, they're the guys with the hats that say World War II. And that way you could ask them, have you ever been on an Honor Flight? And maybe you could help us find veterans.
Can you explain that shirt you have?
My shirt?
That you're
wearing? This shirt?
Yeah.
This shirt is what we wear on the flights. And when you read it, if you can read this, thank a teacher. But if you can read it in English, thank a veteran. That's the shirt that we wear on the flights. Everybody has a shirt with the logo. It'll say either veteran or guardian up here. And that's how we keep everybody together on the trips, because there's when we go on commercial airline, there's almost between 149 and 169 people on each flight. Wow. We have 5 flights planned for this summer, 2011.
How much does it cost?
It doesn't cost the veterans anything. And that's a lot of times why we have trouble getting the veterans, because they're from the greatest generation and they don't think anything's free. They can't imagine that something's free. They think it must be a scam, or something's going to be required of them in the end, and that's not true. All the veterans travel for free. Now the guardians, who can be either a solo guardian or a family member, they have to pay a fee, and it's $350 this year. They'll be traveling on charter aircraft out of Greater Cincinnati Airport, which is a big step up.
So the money that your organization gets, is it through fundraising, or how exactly?
It's fundraising, it's personal donations, it's corporate donations. It's however, we can accept a $5 donation or thousands of dollars. It doesn't really matter. But every penny that's donated to Honor Flight goes to fly a veteran. We're all volunteers and there's no overhead.
Why did you bring the flag?
I brought the flag because I think it's important for all of us to remember that the flag is not just a symbol of our country, but the red on the flag is actually the blood of all the people that went before us to save our freedom and the freedom of others. During World War II, nothing really happened in the United States after Pearl Harbor, but we went to other countries in the world and saved them from tyranny.
What is your current role in the organization?
My current role is director, and the way I got to be the director was kind of interesting. In 2004, I went on an honor flight as a guardian, and I didn't know what it was about. They came to our flying club, the Cincinnati Warbirds, and asked if anybody wanted to be guardians. So we all raised our hands. We all loved vets. It sounded like a really neat thing to do. So we went on the flight, and when I came back, I knew I needed to get involved a little more. The flights were extremely well organized, but I like to organize things, and I thought there was a lot of things that we could do better. So I volunteered to go on another flight. And then in 2005, they needed someone to do fundraising, and I had done a lot of fundraising in my former volunteer position as the chairman of Blue Ash Airport Day, so I knew a lot of people, and I thought maybe I could help Honor Flight by raising money so that they could go find vets and we could work together and get the mission accomplished. And then the director found a job out of town, and they raised me from the board to the director.
So how many flights have you gone on with the veterans?
In May 10th will be my 16th flight.
Are there any stories you would want to tell from one of your experiences on the flight?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of stories. The one that touched me the most was on the memorial. There's reliefs of all the different parts of the war, like Rosie the Riveter, and how they built submarines and airplanes, and they're reliefs. That way they stand up. And I saw a veteran looking at them like really close. And I went over and I said, "Sir, are you okay?" Because I didn't know if he was like falling into the wall or why he was so close. And he said, "I have macular degeneration in my eyes and I really can't see very much further than a foot." So I took his hand and I took him on every one of those reliefs all the way down the wall, and I talked to him. I said, "Do you feel the propeller? Do you feel the submarine?" He goes, "Oh yeah, I do." So he saw the memorial through his hand, and he went all the way down the memorial. And there's a lot of water in the memorial, but there's a lot of water involved, water soothing and relaxing, and he could hear the water, but he couldn't see anything. And that was just, by the time I got to the end, I was in tears, because I thought how sad that he had to wait that long to see his memorial. So,
Honor Flight program only in the tri-state, or is it expanding, or is it like a nationwide thing?
It's a nationwide, what we call a network. Honor Flight Tri-State is a hub. Instead of a chapter, we call it a hub. And we take veterans from southwestern Indiana, northern Kentucky, and Ohio up to Dayton and like over to Portsmouth, and then in Indiana. So it's kind of, if you imagine about a 150-mile radius outside of greater Cincinnati, anybody that really can get here to one of our flights is welcome to go on a flight. So if you live in Indianapolis and say your son or daughter lives in Cincinnati and they're willing to go get you and bring you down for a flight, that's perfectly fine. Our mission is to take the veterans to their memorial. So pretty much however we can get the vets here, realizing a lot of them don't drive themselves, and maybe they have issues with driving at night after the flight, things like that, but we do everything we can to take them from Cincinnati, especially if they have family members that'll help.